Do you ever get tired of the work and just think, you know what, I don't want to work anymore, let's just go play?
No.
Big creepy men that like follow you everywhere, and they're like 40 years old, and they have these pictures of us when we're like 12.
My son knows you. You are the squeaky clean dad on Full House. But you did some really inappropriate stuff behind the scenes. What kind of stuff did you do?
So here's the other thing I should not have done while working on that show.
Supermodel legs so perfect. Just got new lips, they're perfect. I never wait in line at the club. Cause I'm motherfucking perfect. Hair so blonde, so perfect. Makeup, perfect. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about me.
They've managed to turn their TV success into a multimedia empire.
It's not worth it. Pose, perfect. Angle, perfect. I make jaws drop when it rocks and just that fucking perfect.
They had to be taken away from their mother to be brought onto the set. It was a trauma.
Perfect. Beauty is temporary, but fame is forever.
Hello everyone, my name is Jake, and welcome to my new show on Deep Dive, Chaotic Web, where each month I pull up all the chaos the internet has to offer and try to untangle the chaotic webs the powers that be have woven. Today, I'm going to be diving extremely deep into the story of the youngest millionaires turned billionaires the United States has ever seen, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. From the age of 9 months old crawling across the Full House soundstage to the creation of their multi-billion-dollar empire, all the way to predatory Hollywood set practices they endured. I'm going to dive deep and uncover how these two twins amassed the fortune that Dual Star is worth today, and the unfortunate pitfalls and dangers they faced because of it. In the 80s, as child labor laws started taking a stronger form in the entertainment industry, studios needed to adapt accordingly so that they could ensure that they had enough time to film scenes. The younger a child actor, the less amount of time they were allowed to work.
As an infant, you can only work about 20 minutes at a time, and that's it. So, they have to have at least 2 kids to play one role.
So therefore, when you had twins, you bought yourself 40 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes of time.
In Hollywood, child labor laws restrict the hours a child can work, so producers often hire twins to play a single role. This not only enables the twins to share the workload, which is good for kids, but it can help them form a deep-seated rivalry of hatred that lasts a lifetime. But of course, that's not the case here. Please welcome the stars of Full House, Ashley Fuller Olsen, Mary-Kate Olsen, and their TV dad, and host of Enough with the Plugs, host of American...
Thus, major Hollywood studios began utilizing twins and triplets to play the part of one character, effectively doubling the amount of time child actors would be able to shoot. If one child wasn't cooperating or able to film, they could seamlessly swap out each twin. And to be honest, at least for me, it was really hard to tell the difference. If this did work for Hollywood studios, it would be an effective strategy to bring down the workload of these young child actors, as the work would have been split in half. However, according to Marie Claire magazine, Mary-Kate has likened her and her sister Ashley's situation to being, quote, little monkey performers, explaining that when she looks at old photos, she doesn't feel connected at all. She ended the quote explaining that she wouldn't wish her own upbringing on anyone. No matter what rules were put in place to protect the children on these sets from being overworked and abused, the stories they tell now unfortunately illustrate a darker view of what Hollywood has presented child actors' work to be. According to Deadline, most of the major studios that employ child performers have not complied with the basic child safety regulations put in place to protect them, often overworking young actors to their breaking point. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were born on June 13, 1986 to Jarni and David Olsen. David Olsen was a mortgage broker, while Jarni was a former ballet dancer.
Ashley came out first. She was the oldest, and everything changed in terms of the house we were living in was a little small. The car wasn't large enough to seat 5.
Now, the Olsen twins' mom is where things begin to get unclear. Any story involving her most likely has a few versions floating around due to their mom's wish of remaining out of the public eye. It is often inferred that their mom may have already been in show business at the time of the Olsen twins' casting, considering her friends at the time also had their children in movies and television.
Well, it was actually kind of a fluke, if you would call it a fluke. I just took my children in one day to an agency and showed them my girls. They were about 7 months old, and they said, well, send us some snapshots, and so I did, and they sent us out.
We sent these horrible indoor photographs of just, your family photos, and they said, send some more, and...
We kept sending photographs.
More than cute, the twosome are clearly identical. One phone call changed the Olsens' life forever.
I had no idea that they were the producers, and I just rolled them in there, and they took a look at them.
Now, if this is true, their mom did not want the public view of her to be that of a stage mom, as throughout their lives, the Olsen twins were very adamant in most interviews that their mom didn't want to do it, but still did it. And Mary-Kate and Ashley still don't seem to present a super public view on their entrance into show business.
It was pretty much a fluke, because the girls were, or actually my wife was with a friend of hers that was at the time visiting her child's agent, and they were just running errands during the day, and I was one of them, and it had come up that we had twins.
Well, what we've heard, my mom's friend went in and told my mom, hey, there's an interview for twins for a TV show.
And the agent told my wife at the time, well, how about sending in some family photos? So, because I used twins, I guess, at that age.
So my mom didn't really want to do it, but she did it anyways. And they just held us and saw if we would cry or not, and we didn't cry, so they chose us.
You started, like I said, when you were 9 months old. Isn't that crazy? Does that seem crazy to you now that it all began when you were just infants, really?
Yeah, especially, our parents really didn't, we'd never been on any other audition before. It was just for Full House, and it was just kind of random that we actually even went on the Full House audition.
Right, and how, did your folks want you to be on a television show, or it just was an accident, or what happened?
Our mom's friend took us in.
And we didn't cry when they held us, and that's why they picked us.
Really? So,
yeah.
Now, did your mom know that the friend was taking you kids in for the audition, or
Well,
not?
she came with us, but it was one of those things where, she didn't really care, she didn't really want it, and, we're really lucky that we never had those types of parents.
And so in the beginning, for some reason, I guess national security, they didn't want people to know that the part Michelle, right, was played by two people.
Seriously, we never
heard that before.
Nevertheless, Mary-Kate and Ashley beat out 20 other sets of twins for the coveted role of Michelle Tanner on ABC's, at the time, brand new live-action family sitcom Full House. Even though the twins were hired to split the workload of playing Michelle Tanner, it is widely believed that Mary-Kate acted on the majority of season 1. Now, on a set like Full House, it is required that there be a child welfare guardian for the child working. That took the form of Adria.
In my history of being in this business, 25 years, they were probably the easiest going, calmest babies I'd ever worked with. From the very beginning, from the first day, they didn't cry, they didn't fuss.
She was the greatest person ever. I mean, she was like our mom. She was the one who took us to the set, and she basically taught us how to walk and talk. And we love her so much, and we worked with her till we were about 8.
However, Adria was also the twins' acting coach. And unfortunately, as Allison Stoner said, the job description of a producer or PA or any job on a set does not include babysitter, unless otherwise described. And for the Olsen twins, their babysitter was also working for the set. The person who was supposed to be looking out for their every need was employed by the production. There were very few checks and balances, and Adria seemed to raise the twins from early on. Now, at the time of Mary-Kate and Ashley's discovery, they were both infants, and the Full House crew realized they were often getting upset and having separation anxiety from their parents. So the parents were kicked off the set.
They would go to the set about 4 or 5 times a week for starters. Johnny would drive them over, just get them acclimated to the sets and everybody around them.
It was very difficult on a 9-month-old infant.
Sometimes they would respond positively, sometimes they might cry.
It became apparent that the separation anxiety that the girls were going through every time they had to be taken away from their mother to be brought onto the set, it was a trauma.
It's best to not have the mom within eyesight of the child that's working, because it breaks the fantasy. There's suddenly mom, there's reality, uh-oh, I want to go to mommy.
And it became apparent that Johnny could not be around.
It was just easier for us if the parents weren't there. They were a bit of a distraction for the girls.
We basically asked Johnny if she would not mind bringing the girls and kind of disappearing.
A lot of people on the set really kind of stepped in and took that kind of maternal care of them.
In fact, the mom had wanted to pull them off of Full House after the first year because it was disrupting her relationship with the siblings, because she took so much time taking them to the set and being with them. And so they made arrangements with assistants and all to drive them, and the mom decided to let it continue.
Now, Mary-Kate and Ashley were just babies, and they did what babies do. And this caused John Stamos, the actor who played Uncle Jesse and a partial owner in the stake of the show, to want to fire the Olsen twins and replace them with new actors. On a grandfathered panel, John Stamos said, "I said get rid of these kids," and they brought on a couple of unattractive redheaded kids. We tried that for a while and that didn't work, so I said, okay, get the Olsen twins back. And that's the story. And with their mother removed from the set, the only person who was supposedly hired to look after their well-being was also their acting coach. There wasn't a single facet of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's life that wasn't either controlled by production or the empire that was being built for them.
Well, it wasn't like when we couldn't read or talk, we basically would, talk. You know, when we could just say like single words, Adria would be on the side going, you know, say, "You got it, dude," and then we'd go, "You got it, dude."
You got it, dude. I don't know.
Now look this way.
Shoot. Shoot.
Okay, put your hands down.
And when September of 1987 came around, Full House premiered to much fanfare. The Full House cast was blowing up, and Mary-Kate and Ashley were at the center of it.
America's tiniest tycoons, the Olsen twins.
Reportedly made a combined $80,000 an episode by the end of the show's run, but the best was yet to come. With a string of home videos, the twins have hit the big time.
They were second only to Bill Cosby in popularity.
You're going to be out at FAO Schwartz tomorrow for a party, right? To promote your new video, your new record.
They are mega stars now. Please welcome Ashley and Mary-Kate Olsen.
They're adding to a video, music, and publishing empire that has made the twins, now 11, two of the biggest child stars in Hollywood history.
Mary-Kate and Ashley were officially huge stars. However, if you've seen other videos on Deep Dive, you'll know that doesn't always come with tons of money.
I used to play golf with Mary-Kate and Ashley's dad, Dave, and he would ask me questions like, well, what do you think the girls should be making? And I said, well, I don't know how much they are making, but if they're not making something substantial, you should ask for that.
We're getting minimum wage or something. It was pretty low. So anything north of that was, was a step in the right direction.
So how did the Olsen twins go from making just $4,000 an episode on Full House to being two of the richest child stars of all time? You might even be wondering how in the world Mary-Kate and Ashley started a business when they were just 6 years old. Well, that's where Robert Thorne comes in.
By the time the series ended, I think they were probably up around 6 figures.
Now that Robert had proven himself to the Olsen twins' parents by increasing the twins' salary 500% in just 2 seasons, they were interested in what he had to say and brought him on as the twins' manager. For the first few years, Robert explained how he was focused on the twins' appearances and booking fees. However, Mary-Kate and Ashley were proving to be a massive hit to the Full House audience, and their children alike. So much so that show creator Jeff Franklin and Robert Thorne would team up in 1992 to create a straight-to-TV special titled To Grandmother's House We Go. This marked the first time the Olsen twins played separate characters and appeared on screen together, and was definitely the catalyst to the twins being transformed from children into a brand. In the early 90s, streaming didn't really exist. Cable television was just ramping up and VHS sales were through the roof. This was back when physical and straight-to-home video was where the money was at, and the Olsen twins were the prototype. No one could have known how quickly the public would take to these releases. Some of their extremely early projects were even released under the company Zoom Express, as BMG Kids almost seemed to be formed to keep up with the twins' success. However, things took a huge turn in 1993 when Robert teamed up with the Olsen twins' parents to form the company Dual Star. This was a new move the industry hadn't seen before, and since Robert Thorne was an experienced lawyer, he wanted to make a multi-year deal with BMG to release an entire arsenal of Olsen twins content. Now, the way this was presented at the time was that Robert was working with the Olsen family to create a lasting future for the twins. However, to create this future and fulfill all of the commitments, Robert pushed the twins as far as he could. Allison Stoner, a child actor who worked in many of the same spaces around the same time as the Olsen twins, broke down how the business side of child stardom works.
I am 12, and I am a machine.
What you doing? It's Allison Stoner from Phineas and Ferb, and you're watching Disney Channel.
I'm currently contractually obligated to complete multiple overlapping projects. I'm president of a corporation with salaried family members and multi-vertical teams. Revenue models for billion-dollar media empires revolve around my peers and my faces, talents, and labor. Zero Productions acknowledge that after their shoot, I will go to another, record an interview during my lunch break, train for multiple hours, skip dinner, and meet for a late-night rehearsal. After all, their responsibility is to deliver a product on time and in budget, not to babysit. Meanwhile, agents are encouraging me to look at early emancipation so I can work longer hours.
Robert explained to Billboard magazine that when major labels wanted to develop child and family entertainers from scratch, there had to be a way to develop new artists, yet there really wasn't. I'm the eternal optimist, but it's difficult. Distributors then turned to television properties and personalities. When BMG decided to make its move, he adds, "We were fortunate to have the Olsens." An anonymous major executive told Billboard magazine at the time one of the reasons they're doing so well is that there are multiple home videos to purchase. The idea is to give people enough choices. BMG will be lending heavy marketing support, cross-promoting the titles with the twins' latest audio releases. They're putting a lot behind it. To get a significant foothold, they need to have their front line deliver a certain amount of sales. And Robert Thorne's formula worked. Mary-Kate and Ashley movies were flying off the shelves at a pace the world hadn't seen before. This quick growth spurt not only launched the twins' career to new heights, but also created an established brand, now with a proven prototype. And that formula would be absolutely exhausted over the next few years. With the twins' home videos exploding and their careers blasting off to new heights, Full House, the show where it all began, that they had been on for 8 years, came to an end.
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen!
Everything they knew from the time they were born changed in an instant.
Now you did finish Full House, what was it, 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, I think? Yeah, what did you miss about being on TV? Because you're back on it, you must have missed something.
Well, we miss Full House.
Yeah.
Or we miss like
all the
people and just like the routine of coming in, you know, run your lines, do your schoolwork.
However, as the curtain closed and the set was repurposed, the only way for the Olsen twins brand to go was up. It was time for the twins to move on with their dual star obligations. Of course, when phrased this way to a child, they are going to say yes. Maybe if they were asked if they wanted to go on a month-long work trip to make money that they couldn't even touch yet instead of being normal children, they would have answered differently. The Full House cast even expressed how concerned they were for the children. When Full House was filming, if they weren't actively on set, they were most likely doing school. And when Full House went on hiatus to give them a break, they would go film their own movies and record their own albums, leaving very little free time to Mary-Kate and Ashley. And at just 8 years old, the cast did have cause for concern.
Hold on a sec. Just give him a hug. Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
Okay. I didn't just do that because you're here. I did it because if I didn't do it, then I would be being rude, wouldn't I? Okay, I did it for television. Anyway.
In Bob Saget's book, Dirty Daddy, he describes two absolutely unacceptable situations on set. The first one having to do with how Mary-Kate and Ashley's hygiene was neglected on the Full House set.
But I actually did change Mary-Kate's and Ashley's diapers once, and that was 4 years ago. Ashley came up with the punchline to that joke. No, really, I did have to change them a couple times. Cameras were rolling, and one of the young ladies had made a poop, which had to be removed, or we would have been holding a child with a smashed poo-filled diaper for a long scene. A very long scene if you're smelling poo the whole time. I didn't want the poo to cause a rash and soil my television child's butt, so I decided to take the time to remove the aforementioned substance from the diaper so that my television baby was poo-free.
Now, if that wasn't bad enough, the next story should definitely come with a trigger warning.
So here's the other thing I should not have done while working on that show. They gave me a rubber doll to talk to as a stand-in for camera run-throughs to represent the character of Michelle. Maybe you can finish this story for me, please. Ashley and Mary-Kate were in school, so I had to camera rehearse without any other characters and just a technical crew with this 4-foot-tall rubber doll. Only adults were there. A lot of crew guys whom I like to make laugh. What could have happened next? Oh yeah, so I'm throwing it around, pretending to do stuff to it, as one would do if there were no child actors within a couple sound stages distance and you were a comedian with no moral compass in front of a crowd of people. And what I didn't know was the television monitors were turned on in the schoolroom and all the dressing rooms and in certain offices on the studio lot. Like I said, I was an idiot. Jody's mom, Janice, and Candace's mom, Barbara, two very sweet people and great mothers, came down to the stage and said, "Bob, we can see what you're doing on the monitors upstairs." Jokingly as I could, I said, "Well, turn them off. I'm working down here." As usual, they were right. I should have used some part of my rational mind, my parenting mind. What I learned through that experience is, if you're making only a few crew people laugh and you're playing with a life-size doll and there are no other actors around, stop it. Take a moment to yourself and call a good therapist.
So if you caught that, Bob mentioned that Mary-Kate and Ashley were in school, only to look up at a monitor of their father figure on TV, defiling a replica of them. No child should have to see that, much less grow up in an environment where that's acceptable behavior.
Instead of Ashley and Mary-Kate, for Michelle, as a 3-year-old kid, they gave me a doll to talk to for rehearsal. A rubber doll, not even plastic, like a test dummy, it looked like a porn doll. It was just missing the stuff.
Sure.
You know, all those things. You ever done that? You ever been with one of those things?
Well, not one that I would hold that would mimic a 4-year-old, but yeah. Have I ever? Yeah.
Sure. All the kids that were on the show were very young then. They're like, young. And they were up in their schoolroom or in the trailer. And I was there with just the crew. It was mostly guys, a couple of ladies, but I had the rubber doll. I'm in the bedroom. I have to do Anthony, the morality play of that show.
The little speech.
The sizer music comes in, you start talking, and so there wasn't at that moment, but that was the scene. So I'm in her room, and I'm going, honey, I'm holding the doll. I'm looking into a rubber doll's head. Now, I was always a comedian since I was 17. So I said, I can't do this. Can't we just read it? Do I have to do this? I went, no, we need it for blocking. Cameras need to see it. You need to see it. So I'm like talking to it, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then I just grabbed it, and I just threw it on the bed, and I just started pretending, that I was right. So the crew's watching this, and they're laughing their asses off. But I did it kind of slow. I didn't do it. I took my time with it. I didn't want to do anything to offend anybody. At first, I was like dancing with it, and then I was like, laying in the bed talking to it. And then
foreplay, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then and it was very lifelike.
Wow.
What? Come on.
That's great.
You can cut this out, right?
No.
So one of the moms is the punchline. So one of the moms comes down, and this is all true, and she goes, "You got to stop this right now. This is on the monitors. The kids can see this in the classroom. The kids are watching you do this." And I'm literally I'm just going, like Lenny and Mice and Men. It's not a good thing what I'm doing.
Wow.
And that's a good reference too. It just gets worse. Sure, I'm doing it. It's something wrong with me. And then she said, "The kids are watching it." I said, "Well, turn off the monitors. I'm working." And that was my excuse was that I'm working. I consider that
You're working.
it was work.
And instead of stopping,
I did stop
tell
after
them to
she
turn
came
off
down.
the monitors.
I've been having to tell it all, buffered for all this.
Right,
I was
right.
on The View yesterday. They wanted me to tell it, and I told it.
My son knows you. You are the squeaky clean dad on Full House. But you did some really inappropriate stuff behind the scenes. What kind of stuff did you do behind the scenes?
Michelle was the youngest character's name. They would give me a plastic, it was actually a rubber doll to talk to. Do I need to finish this? It's almost over. How's she doing, by the way? She's at my house. We're dating. No, but she loved 50 Shades of Grey. But she's just sitting there reading it like a mannequin. A mannequin in a bookstore.
Who had the worst potty mouth on set? Bob. Who was the biggest prankster of the group?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Dave and Bob, John. Remember when they did like all the gag reel stuff?
Oh, that's true. Remember when they came around the van
with their pants down?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a hard one. The three of them together.
Now, in 2008, for the roast of Bob Saget on Comedy Central, his colleagues make some disgusting and very worrisome jokes about Bob Saget on the set of Full House. His colleagues again imply that he was consistently inappropriate when children were around.
His entire job consisted of saying, "Take a look at this," which is what he used to say to Mary-Kate Olsen in her dressing room. Should have been called Blackjack because you hit on the Olsens when they were 8 and you didn't stop till they were 21.
For 8 seasons, half an hour a week, Full House kept off the street. In fact, 3 of them were on the show.
After all these years, I'd never met the Olsen twins. He introduced me to them. I said to him, how do I tell them apart? He says, Ashley swallows.
And everybody's still around because there was that Super Bowl commercial with Bob Saget and John Stamos. And so Bob Saget has a new book out saying that he did a lot of inappropriate jokes. Do you remember the jokes when you were on set?
They were very inappropriate. We probably couldn't even talk about it here. They were 3 comedians. We grew up with 3 comedians that just had fun together. And, normally you let an audience go if you're taping. We used to film actually on the Warner Brothers lot as well. So a couple doors down, and you would let them go by like 11, 10, and they would, film until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah, they'd have to let the audience go.
You would be there as
no, we would.
Okay,
no,
I was going to say that would be against the law. I would hope.
Fine line.
Yeah.
There's no telling what Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen had to witness during their most formative years. However, it's clear that in Hollywood, child actors' well-being is often an afterthought, and in many cases, no thought at all.
Since then, Ashley has told me that she and her sister knew when everyone was laughing at something inappropriate, but they just didn't know what it was. None of the kids did, until they got older.
Due to Dual Star's pace, the twins had to move on, and with the straight-to-home movies and children music markets cornered, Robert wanted more, and was looking into creating more products with the twins featured on them. Celebrity-branded merchandise in the 90s all sort of followed the same lifestyle brand feeling. Oprah and Martha Stewart dominated big box retailers. However, their main demographic was adult women. Robert wanted to take the formula of licensing a product line to a particular name or face, and bring it to the children's entertainment industry. Robert told Variety that there really wasn't anything to look to as a model at the time, save for maybe Martha Stewart. He explains that most agents and managers don't have time to keep track of what manufacturers and retail partners are doing with their client's name and likeness, explaining you can't just do deals and go away from them. Robert and his partner explained to Billboard that Dual Star developed a comprehensive strategy whereby manufacturing and retail partners are responsible for getting licensed product onto store shelves, while according to Redlitz, we take the lead to bring them marketing, promotion, and press. The energy has to come from the brand. We do everything outside of the store.
Thorne sensed that the tween consumers with allowances to burn would be willing to buy even more.
How many products have their name on it?
About 52 categories of entertainment, fashion, and lifestyle.
List some of the products.
Clothes, books, videos, CDs, CD players, sportswear, cosmetics, hair stuff, shoes, chairs.
Chairs?
It's part of the
What kind of gross sales last year?
970 million globally. We'll probably double that in 2004.
$970 million doubled. That means if all goes according to plan, Mary-Kate and Ashley could be billionaires before they can even vote.
And this approach proved to be successful.
I think what I've heard is that they have 1,400 cubic feet in every Walmart or something. I'm going to ask them if I can have 10 of that, just 10 cubic feet. And I'm going to set up a little Dave stand and I don't even know what I'm going to sell yet.
And as the turn of the millennium was approaching, Mary-Kate and Ashley were rocketing off to new heights.
When you think Hollywood mogul, these probably are the last two things you picture. The Olsen twins, all of 12 years old, are in fact the tiny rulers of a massive movie and TV empire. But do not think for a second that they're not still little girls at heart, because here is the proof.
After watching them literally grow up on television for 8 seasons in a single-parent home on Full House, the twins are back on primetime with a new series and another single parent in Two of a Kind.
That didn't make it after a year, and that was a big disappointment to Mary-Kate and Ashley. So the press pronounced them dead career-wise after that show was pulled.
You know, we were excited, to have another series, but at the same time, it was a lot of work. And so we were not discouraged. We knew that there was more out there for us to do.
Thousands of fans just dying to be buddies with the Olsens showed up for the Minneapolis premiere of Billboard Dad, and the girls didn't mind sharing even the smallest details of their personal lives with them.
I have to feed the dogs, and I have to clean up my room. And I have to vacuum. I get to meet all of our fans and say hi to them, and, they're all really nice.
Their real-life dad, David, still can't believe he's the father of a couple of superstars.
Obviously, it's evolved into something that, no one would think that, this is possible, but it's worked out well, though. Actually, here's some sugar-free stuff over here. Some sugar-free candy.
No, they don't taste as good.
Actually, the only thing I had happen was last year on one of the videos, one of the boys that was working with him called the house a couple times at 10 at night, and that didn't go over too well with me. I don't look forward to the 14 or 15-year-old period, so, but I can't control it.
Are you dating anybody yet?
No.
Not even George Clooney?
No.
Do you tend to like the same kind of guy?
Yeah.
That could be a problem down the road.
I know.
Yeah. It may all end over a guy,
John Glenn, did he know who you were?
No.
But you look cute.
Thank you.
One day, both of you are going to look like this. Can't
Look
wait.
how excited they are.
Sure.
Well, one day, some attractive little boy, comes knocking at the door.
Look at Mary-Kate.
And both of you are looking at him and wondering which one, Would there be a conflict there?
Maybe.
What kind of man appeals to you?
Who do you think's just the living end?
Brad Pitt and Ben Affleck.
And Ben Affleck. Yeah.
Why Brad Pitt?
He's really cute.
I totally agree with you.
Have you seen Regis in a tux?
Oh, now, you guys, you had a big event since the last time we saw you. You have to tell everybody about it.
I see a little embarrassment on your face.
Yeah.
So, yes, you had an on-screen kiss. So how was that?
It was very embarrassing.
Oh, come on, you liked a little bit of it, huh?
We met the guys like an hour before we had to do it. It was our first time we ever saw them. Our mom was there. A whole bunch of parents were there, with their kids in the background. And then my mom was there, and everyone we knew was watching. My mom didn't care. My mom was like, "Oh, you look beautiful, honey. It's okay." She's watching the whole thing, reading her book. You look beautiful.
So what did you do for the practice?
Well, they did it like 1,000,000 times.
You had 1,000,000 takes?
For practice, and then we did it 1,000,000 times.
Ashley, were you intentionally making a mistake so you had to do it again?
No, I wasn't. It was all Mary-Kate who was making all the mistakes. I didn't mean to. Trust me. We had big butterflies in her stomach and really felt like it was going to throw up. Oh my God, I can't do this. I couldn't stand up. My knees were all shaking.
You felt like you were going to throw up?
Yeah.
We actually have a clip of the kiss.
As the 90s came to a close, Mary-Kate and Ashley continued pumping out their straight-to-home movies, including It Takes Two, Billboard Dad, Passport to Paris, Switching Goals, Our Lips Are Sealed, Winning London, and finally in 2001, the one I'll be discussing today, Holiday in the Sun with Megan Fox before she was in Transformers.
Excuse me. Oh, were you in line? Brianna Wallace. Messages, please.
Now this is where things take a rather shocking and deep turn. When I was researching for this video, I came across an E! Online article about Holiday in the Sun, where they interviewed David Wagner and Ben Easter from the movie. According to E! Wagner and his writing partner Brent Goldberg were on the set of Van Wilder when they were approached about writing a movie for the Full House stars. Yes, the duo who wrote Van Wilder and The Girl Next Door are responsible for Holiday in the Sun. This is an R-rated movie production team producing a tween movie. Like, why? Like, what is the need for that? The article continues with Wagner saying, "You wouldn't think that they would approach two guys in their 20s, kind of writing R-rated comedies. You wouldn't think that we would be their first choice, and when they told us the concept of the movie, it definitely piqued my interest." The original title of the film was actually The Last Family Vacation, with Wagner connecting to that time in your adolescence when you're starting to become embarrassed of your parents, and it's that natural shift from kid to teen and how much time you want to be with your parents. So we were intrigued by that concept. When is it time to say, hey, I don't want to go on vacations with my mom and dad anymore? For Easter, his casting story started with, well, a lot. My manager called me and was like, the girls watched the tapes of the auditions and Ashley really wanted to meet you, Easter explained. I was like, oh my god. Then I was like, oh shit, I was a little bit nervous because of my age. My manager was like, I think they told the girls you were 16. But in reality, Ben was a 22-year-old man, while Ashley was only 14 years old. According to this article, Ben was a nervous mess when he went in to meet them, saying, I was like, I don't want to lie. I'm not a lying kind of guy. This isn't what we do. I'm from Iowa. This is not how we roll. I am the worst liar. I was like, please don't bring this up. Please don't bring it up. But according to E! Online, any initial nerves Ben had immediately went away after meeting the twins. Still, their manager Robert Thorne eventually asked how old he was and expressed some concern over the age difference. But according to this article, Ashley said it was fine and named another co-star she had that was older. However, things get even worse. As Ben explains, we hit it off right off the bat. They could see I was a professional and I wasn't some creep. I remember being a little bit nervous for our kissing scene because I was thinking, oh my god, she is my brother's age and I'm kissing a girl that's my brother's age. And Ashley was so generous, even as an actress. I remember she grabbed my hand and was like, hey, do you want to practice really quick? And I was like, oh my god, yes, please, because I was nervous too. I was 22 kissing a 15-year-old, which sounds awful, but it's professional. Now he gets into even more details, saying they went around the fountain and just sat there and kissed. Ben Easter, who is now 42 years old, told Uproxx in 2016 that 14-year-old Ashley Olsen was, quote, such a good kisser. And the director cut the scene after they started kissing because, quote, it was a little bit too intense.
Thanks to Jake and the casting crew. And remember, we're legal in 4 weeks.
The time period leading up to Mary-Kate and Ashley's 18th birthday was a disturbing one to say the least. According to NBC News, for years, there have been internet sites counting down to the second when the Olsens would turn 18 and be legal to do more than vote. Lex Staley and Terry James, the shock jocks who host the nationally syndicated Lex and Terry show, say they have been waiting for the twins' 18th since the girls were barely 14. On their website is the Olsen twin jailbait countdown clock.
Like the big creepy men that like follow you everywhere, and they're like, can we picture? And they're like 40 years old, and they're like sweating. And they have these pictures of us when we're like 12.
Michael Pignotta, the Olsen's publicist, gave some insight into the marketing strategy of the twins, telling NBC that the twins have had several offers from men's magazines to pose skimpily clad when they turn 18. They will not be accepting them. He invokes the Rolling Stone headline, America's Favorite Fantasy, saying they're a fantasy if you're a 6-year-old girl, and perhaps they're a fantasy if you're a 50-year-old man. That is, I think, the magical thing about them, is they seem to span such a broad range of demographics. Even though interviewers, their publicists, and men on the internet were all focused on the twins becoming the legal age of consent, they were focused on taking back their empire.
When People magazine put you on the cover as among the richest kids really in the world, yes, you roll your eyes.
Yeah.
Why? You hated that.
We were put against kids who have inherited a whole bunch of money. We've earned it. It's It's not like it just was given to us. We've worked very hard for everything we have.
We've worked for 16 years.
This is our company, Jewel Star, and we're on the fashion floor where all the fun happens.
Don't let their size fool you. This tiny teen duo means big business. Together, their names have become a billion-dollar brand.
Jewel Star Entertainment is definitely a global business, more than $1 billion in 2004.
The twins were the youngest self-made millionaires in the history of the United States.
They had no concept of how much money they were making.
One morning they were going to work and they were tired, and Ashley said, "Boy, we're working so much. We better be making $2 a week." And Mary Kate was horrified with that and said, $2? We have to be making $10 a week or I'm not even going to do this.
What happens to the money that you make?
We don't really care. We don't do anything with the money right now.
It's put in a trust fund, is it?
Right, I guess.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So when was the last time you asked for something and you didn't get it?
Well, we don't get everything.
No.
Up until this point, Ashley and Mary-Kate Olsen have been working non-stop, while also being unable to spend the majority of their own money, project after project with billions of dollars on the line. Yet, according to the twins, their father wouldn't give them a penny of their hard-earned fortune unless they did additional chores. Needless to say, working full-time, balancing school and chores took up all of their time.
We all know how successful you guys are. Girls, excuse me. You still get allowances? Is that right?
Well, yes, but I haven't cleaned my room like a really, really long time. So it's really messy, so we haven't really gotten it for a while. But
Is it true that you guys are allowanced?
yeah, every month we get a certain amount from our dad, and then also we give ourselves.
What would the range kind of be?
We don't like to talk.
What is spending change for you?
You know, just enough for some meals and some little things on the side.
What is the range?
All of the kids in the family have the same amount.
The twins got the same amount of money that their siblings got. However, the family was living off their hard-earned income. So for no other reason than the fact that they were still under 18, they had to give their parents and siblings an allowance out of their money, while they were depraved of their own.
Ranges around maybe $150 to $200 a month.
Really?
In cash.
That's really...
$200 a month is only $6.66 a day, and Mary-Kate and Ashley were 17.
Robert Thorne, CEO of Dual Star, helped propel these girls onto Hollywood's power list.
Got hundreds of different book titles, about 45 titles of videos and DVDs. Mary-Kate and Ashley are not a flash in the pan. They're not an overnight success. They've been working hard for 17 years.
These Super Sisters' very own fashion line at Walmart hauled in $400 million last year. Soon, these mini moguls will turn 18. But what does a teen tycoon get for her birthday?
So June 13th is our birthday, and we officially become, presidents of our company, Dual Star.
June 13th, you take over the presidential reins as 18-year-olds?
Yeah, we've been acting in that. We've been acting,
as
presidents for, since we've been doing this whole thing. But I guess, legally we get the name.
Good.
Yeah.
And on June 13th, 2004, the Dual Star empire that the Olsen twins had tirelessly worked for was officially theirs. They were finally official presidents along with Robert Thorne. However, this wouldn't last long, as less than a year later, the news was delivered that the Olsen twins had officially bought their shrewd business partner Robert Thorne out of the company. Robert Thorne told Reuters the decision was to respect their desire to take the helm perhaps a few years earlier than I had anticipated, but I didn't want to stand in their way, provided that I was taken care of as I was handsomely. According to Reuters, the former CEO declined to say just how handsomely or what he'll charge the Olsen twins while he stays on for a few months as a consultant. Mary-Kate said in a statement, "We are very thankful that we are able to enjoy our college experience, run a business, and live our lives." And the Olsen twins did just that, but not before unleashing the next generation of Dual Star talent onto the world.
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen are doubling their empire with two brothers and their star power. Jason Kennedy has the first interview with Hollywood's newest twin tycoons.
Thanks, Giuliani. You might not know their name yet, but Dylan and Cole Sprouse are on track to becoming the next teen moguls. Don't think that's bothering Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen one bit. That's because the Olsens are teaming up with the Sprouses, signing the brothers to their Dual Star Entertainment Group. It's a deal that could land the boys millions. Did you guys grow up watching Mary-Kate and Ashley?
We did, because we were twins, they were twins. Just meeting Mary-Kate and Ashley all together, I think anybody would be nervous. I was like, okay. It's hard to imagine what to say to them,
What did they say to you?
Just It's great to start working with you guys.
It's a rare Olsen twins outing. Mary-Kate joined sister Ashley as they celebrated their latest business venture last night in New York with the Sprouse brothers, Dylan and Cole. The Olsen's Dual Star Entertainment Group is behind the boys' new magazine, Sprouse Brothers Code.
We have partnered with the Olsen twins.
Talk about your involvement with them.
Well, their company Dual Star, we went to for just an for advertising some things like books, and we wanted to get out some movies. I mean, clothing lines, and we went to them, and they said, "Yeah, sure." So now we're partnered with them,
and obviously, I mean, everyone can see how successful those two were. I mean, and
so we tried to kind of model
we covered the bases.
We actually see them.
We call them, they call us.
If they go to meetings with us, if it's important meetings, they're there.
We just realized that there was a hole in the market for the boys, for a boys brand. So once the boys team, when they approached us, it just seemed like a perfect fit.
Listen, it's not my fault that I'm the standard. If I had it my way, we'd all be perfect. But in reality, there's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. I'm the exception.